15 years ago today, the 14th of June 2009, the final episode of South Pacific released. I personally do not like this episode as much as the obligatory "We're destroying the Earth, need to protect it" episode. It focuses on the impact of climate change and overfishing on the South Pacific. Unfortunately, the only version of this episode I could find free online had Dutch subtitles. The episode starts with footage from previous episodes, as well as some from later in this one, before we see a pair of humpbacked whales, Megaptera novae anglii, and the narrator tells of how they were once hunted for blubber, but that they are now recovering from extinction, and we see humans swimming with these gentle giants. Next we go to Tuvalu, a tiny country which is particularly affected by climate change, as its highest elevation is around 4.6 meters above sea level. Sea walls cannot protect the land, as seawater simply bubbles up through the soil. In fact, the South Pacific does actually absorb large amounts of carbon dioxide, but this turns the water into carbonic acid, damaging the ability of creatures such as the sea butterfly, Limacina helicina, a tiny marine snail which is the basis of many oceanic food chains, unable to properly form shells. Next, we find out about the real problem facing the Pacific: overfishing. We see Fijians fishing with their traditional methods. We find out the amount of fish caught has declined dramatically recently. The narrator tells of how reefs are being damaged and destroyed in the quest to capture more fish, destroying the vital habitats. To combat this, we see biologists and local Fijian fishermen picking out unhealthy corals and breaking them up before growing them on racks, and we see time-lapse footage of the corals growing, with these new corals being broken up once again and the branches replanted on the reef. In the next segment, we see skipjack, Katsuwanus pelamis, and yellowfin, Thurus albicares tuna being fished for. This is an industrial-scale rod fishing operation. Bait fish are thrown in, while hundreds of people with fishing lines catch the tuna. We then see sharks gathering in large numbers, grey reef sharks in French Polynesia, and Scalloptera heads, Spharina lewini, in the Galapagos. But we hear about these numbers are reducing. We then see an oceanic white-tip shark, which have declined approximately 99%, once the most common large animal on Earth, with this mostly being due to accidental catch by fishers. In the next segment, we see tiger sharks hunting albatross chicks. Again, this is probably the worst reused segment, because unlike the constant reappearances of Hawaii, is the exact same footage and content every time, with no new info. We then see that these and all other albatross, including the famous wandering albatross, Diomedia exulans, are endangered due to fishing. Mostly they're getting hooked on fishing lines, especially from long line fishing. Then we see a bird-friendly line fisherman who uses streamers to scare the birds away, as well as other techniques, which means he has reduced his bird catch to zero and increased the amount of big-eye tuna, Thunus obesus, his intended target, that he catches. These techniques are now legally required around Aotearoa. Then we see sharks being hunted for shark fin soup, including the incredibly rare big-eye thresher shark, Alopias superciliosus. This is then contrasted with the marine reserve of Bekwa Lagoon in Fiji, where tourists could dive with sharks as well as seeing them fed up close and personal. The locals get all of the money. They have a great diversity of sharks there, including tawny nurses, Nebrius ferruginus, bull sharks, Carcharodonus lucus, and tiger sharks, including a large female nicknamed Scarface. We then return to Aotearoa, where more than a quarter of the land, we're told, is protected, which is compared with only 1% of the Pacific Ocean. Each country owns the fishing rights up to around 370 kilometers from their shores, while the rest has unregulated fishing. Next we see Greenpeace trying to deal with overfishing. I have a few opinions that I disagree with Greenpeace on, but that is not relevant to this video, and overall they are a pretty good organization. We see their largest vessel, the Esperanza, making sure that international treaties are enforced in international waters. We see them make sure a Taiwanese longliner is following regulation. Unfortunately, they have hundreds of shark fins on board. They intend to use this footage to make the argument for marine parks in these international waters. We then see thousands of tuna hunting and herding fish before seeing a massive purse seine net designed to catch large groups of tuna. They often catch and kill thousands of other animals, including this turtle, drowning within the massive prison. Luckily, the fisherman is able to save her, but these other thousands of animals are often much less fortunate. We then see multiple massive, high-tech fishing vessels engulfing huge swarms of fish. They use dye to confuse the fish before surrounding them with the purse on the net, a bag which can drag hundreds of tons of fish in one go, before smaller bags drag them up around a ton at a time. The diaries segment for this episode is missing. The one version of this episode I could find online didn't have it, and these videos have taken me a very long time for me to write, edit, and record, so I really can't be bothered to track it down. Look, if you want to watch it, it's on like Amazon Prime and Apple TV, and you can track it down there. I think it's something about how they filmed inside the purse seine. I don't particularly care. So, that was Fragile Paradise. It was definitely my least favourite episode by far. It may be because it's tried to persuade the audience toward an environmentalist worldview, something I already have, or it may be because I'm a child and like seeing animals being animals, something this episode has much less of. At least there was no Hawaii in this one. Overall, I'd rank the episodes like this: 1. Strange Islands, 2. Ocean of Volcanoes, 3. Ocean of Islands, 4. Castaways, 5. Endless Blue, and 6. Fragile Paradise. I was surprised that Castaways ranked so low when I first wrote this, and now, too, and that Ocean of Volcanoes ranked so high. Obviously for the reason I discussed in their respective episodes. Overall, I think you should definitely watch this series, even if maybe you give the finale a miss. Other than that, I think it's quite good. I hope you've enjoyed this series, and if you do, maybe subscribe. I'm going to have a subscriber special out next week, but other than that, goodbye.